Welcome to another episode of People L Pod.
Huh.
Imagine trying to write a song.
Okay.
You start by doing a tarot card reading with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Then you spend some time watching the comedian Mike Myers do this really goofy, awkward dance in an old Austin Powers movie.
As one does.
Right, exactly. And to top it all off, you eat a ridiculous amount of donuts until you're just completely bouncing off the walls.
Wow.
Sounds like a, middle school sleepover, right? But what if I told you that exact sequence of events birthed the defining pop anthem of the early 2020s?
I mean, it is a massive contradiction, and that's exactly why we're talking about it today. Because what sounds to you, the listener, like this effortless, breezy dance floor steeple, it's actually one of the most complex case studies in modern music.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a masterclass in the raw mechanics of the industry, the sheer power of remix culture, and frankly, some unprecedented crisis management.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into Dua Lipa's smash hit song, Levitating. Even if you've hummed this song 1,000 times in your car, or, you've heard it endlessly while scrolling on TikTok, you probably do not know the turbulent story behind it.
No, most people have no idea.
Right. So we're going to get into exactly how it was built, how it was fractured into multiple distinct lives to dominate totally different spaces, and how it managed to survive a near-catastrophic cancellation and 2 entirely separate federal lawsuits.
Yeah, to really appreciate the architecture of this song, you first have to understand the musical and cultural backdrop it was born into. So the album it belongs to is called Future Nostalgia.
Great title, by the way.
Incredible title. And that title wasn't just like slapped on at the end of the recording process. It was actually the starting point. Dua Lipa figured out the name of the album first and then worked backwards to find a sound that fit those 2 words.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because working backward from a title, that sounds great in a press release, but what does that actually mean when you're sitting in a studio trying to make noise?
Right. Well, it means you have a very strict sonic blueprint. The goal was this deliberate attempt to blend vintage 70s, 80s, and 90s pop and R&B with very sleek, futuristic dance pop.
So merging the old and the new.
Exactly. In practice, they were pulling from genres like electro disco and new disco. And, these are genres that take that classic thumping 4-on-the-floor disco beat, the kind that just makes you want to move. But instead of just using traditional guitars and strings, they inject it with heavy synthesizers and really pristine modern production techniques.
Right.
If you want to visualize the sound they were chasing, just imagine a modern, gleaming spaceship touching down right in the middle of the dance floor at Studio 54.
Okay, that is a great image. So they have this very specific, ambitious mission statement. But then we look at the room where it actually happened, and the contrast is hilarious.
It really is.
It's August 28th, 2018. We are at Sarmwest Studios in Notting Hill, London. It's just a single one-day session, and the people in the room are Dua Lipa, a producer named Stephen Kosmaniak, who goes by Kos, and 2 writers, Clarence Coffey Jr. and Sarah Hudson.
And Kos had done a lot of homework before anyone even walked into that room.
Yeah.
He'd spent weeks trying to drum up ideas, specifically trying to nail down a slinky disco track that fit that future nostalgia brief.
Okay.
To get that authentic vintage feel, he tracked down a very rare instrument. It's a Roland VP 330 synthesizer. He'd literally been hunting for one of these for 7 or 8 years.
Wow. That's dedication.
Yeah, and he finally locates one, ships all the way from Tokyo to Toronto, plugs it in, and the very first thing he plays is this warm synthetic choir sound. That specific sound loop immediately became the fundamental DNA of Levitating.
So Kos brings the tech. But the human element of this studio session is where the story gets so bizarre.
Yeah.
Because they start the session and the energy is, a bit stiff. So Sarah Hudson decides to do a tarot card reading for everyone right there in the studio. And Dua Lipa later talked about how this completely shifted the energy in the room. It broke down the walls and got everyone talking openly about their lives.
Yeah, they are totally loose. Their guards are down. And that's when Kos plays that synthetic choir loop he'd made on the vintage synth. Everyone instantly agrees that is the track. Lipa literally pulls out the voice memos app on her phone and just starts singing a melody over it, making it up completely on the spot.
And as they're trying to figure out the groove and the lyrics, they are picturing Mike Myers doing that random jerky dance from the Austin Powers movies.
Yeah, that was their physical mood board.
It's so funny. And then they order a massive box of donuts, devour them, and get this intense sugar rush.
Right.
They were literally bouncing around the studio, and they described feeling like they were, quote, levitating from the sugar. That's where the core concept of the song came from.
Yeah.
They even threw in the lyric, "Sugar Boo." just because it was a goofy pet name they were calling each other in the room.
It's amazing how random it all was.
Okay, wait. I have to stop and push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
You're telling me they ate some deep-fried dough, pulled a few tarot cards, and out-popped one of the biggest Billboard hits of the decade. Come on.
I know, it sounds fake.
The music industry doesn't work on magic. It works on math. We are talking about a track that is meticulously locked at 103 beats per minute in the key of B minor. How does something so chaotic actually become a finished product? Like, who came in and actually fixed the track?
That's the perfect question, because the chaos was really just the spark. The genius of the song is in the rigorous polish that came after the donuts and the tarot cards.
Right.
They captured that raw, euphoric energy in the writing phase, but then they treated the production like a science experiment. For instance, Dua Lipa deliberately engineered the middle eight of the song. She added a rap section that was heavily influenced by the band Blondie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and she did that specifically to assert her British identity, because she felt people in the industry often mistook where she was from. She wanted her accent front and center.
And you can really hear her natural speaking voice punch through in that section.
Exactly. But the ultimate polish the math, as you called it, came from producer Stuart Price. They brought him in later to tighten the screws.
What did you do?
He added what the team called bounce. He fundamentally reworked the bass groove. He brought in a high drone synth, which is a classic disco trope that essentially provides a sonic ceiling for the track, keeping the energy contained and pulsing.
That makes sense.
He also added those sweeping disco strings in the pre-chorus to build anticipation. They even brought in Bosco Electrospicante to play a talk box, which gave the song that funky, robotic, Daft Punk-esque feel.
Okay, so they successfully engineer this perfect pop song. The album drops in March 2020.
Right.
But as we all know, March 2020 is when the entire world immediately shut down. Nobody is going out, nobody is dancing. So how do you keep a club record alive when the clubs are legally closed?
You have to pivot, and you have to engineer longevity. They realized they couldn't just rely on the original album cut. They decided to give the song multiple new lives so it could dominate completely different spaces. So the first major evolution was the Blessed Madonna remix in August 2020, which served as the lead single for a full remix album called Club Future Nostalgia.
And they didn't just get an underground DJ for this. They got Madonna and Missy Elliott.
Absolute royalty.
Yeah.
But remember the mechanical constraints of mid-2020. You have lockdowns globally. You can't just fly everyone to Los Angeles and put them in a vocal booth.
Right, nobody was traveling.
Exactly. This track had to be Frankenstein together remotely. The Blessed Madonna originally built a club remix just for Dua Lipa. Then Lipa essentially cold emails Madonna and Missy Elliott.
Just a casual email to Madonna.
Right. And Madonna records her vocals in a completely separate, isolated studio and decides to throw in a musical nod to her own 1983 song, Lucky Star.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and Missy Elliott records her verse wherever she is and literally sends over an audio file of an air horn.
Amazing.
So the Blessed Madonna then had to take all of these disparate, remotely recorded audio stems and physically weave them together on her computer into a cohesive, pulsing electro house track.
That is wild. But, you know, if that remix was designed for the hardcore club fans, they still needed something to push the song into the mainstream.
Yeah.
That leads to the Damn Baby remix in October 2020.
Yes.
And this was the exact rocket fuel the song needed to conquer U.S. radio.
It was, and the digital marketing strategy behind it was brilliant. They officially partnered with TikTok to launch the Levitating challenge.
Okay, I remember this.
Yeah, they invited fans to use the app's slow motion feature to create videos where they looked like they were literally levitating off the ground. The metrics on that campaign are just staggering. They received 150,000 fan submissions.
Wow.
Which generated over 300 million views.
Wait, 300 million views just for one specific challenge?
That's just for that challenge.
How does a marketing team even capitalize on that kind of organic explosion?
Yeah.
Like, do you just sit back and watch the numbers go up, or how do you bottle that?
Well, you integrate the fans directly into the art. They didn't just use TikTok for free promotion. They literally reached out to 16 of those specific TikTok creators and invited them to be part of the official music video for the Da Baby remix.
That is so smart.
Yeah, some of them helped animate the cosmic dance floor, some helped choreograph the routines, some even designed the makeup.
The video itself is gorgeous. It was directed by Warren Fu, and it perfectly captures that initial spaceship at Studio 54 concept you mentioned earlier.
Totally.
It's set in this Art Deco, Great Gatsby meets disco elevator that just keeps shooting up, until it reaches a futuristic galaxy.
Right, and all of that momentum, the radio play, the TikTok integration, the remixes, it culminated in an incredibly rare chart anomaly.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. So the song peaked at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It actually never hit #1 on the weekly chart. It kept getting blocked by acts like Silk Sonic. Yet at the end of the year, Billboard named Levitating the #1 song of the entire 2021 year-end chart.
Wait, how does a song win the entire year without ever winning a single week?
It comes down to the math of longevity versus immediate peaks. Most hit songs flash incredibly hot for a few weeks, hit #1, and then plummet.
Right.
Levitating never spiked to #1, but it lived on the charts forever. It spent an astonishing 77 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100.
77 weeks. That's insane.
Yeah, it's been 41 weeks just in the top 10 alone. For a significant period of time, it actually held the record for the longest charting hit by a female artist in the history of the Hot 100.
Who did it pass?
It surpassed LeAnn Rimes' How Do I Live, though. Mariah Carey eventually broke that record again in 2025. But it earned a diamond certification in the U.S., meaning it moved over 10 million units.
And the live performances just kept feeding the beast globally. Like at the 2020 American Music Awards, they filmed her at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and at the end of the song, she is quite literally levitating into the sky on a massive wire pulley system.
It's a massive spectacle.
It really was, and the song's global reach is wild. Fast forward to 2024, she performs in Mumbai and flawlessly mashes Levitating up with Bolat Ki Jo, which is a massive 90s Bollywood track starring Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the song was everywhere, and it just kept taking on the flavor of wherever it landed. But of course, you don't stay at the absolute center of the cultural conversation for that long without hitting some major turbulence. The higher it climbed, the bigger a target it became, and that became a massive liability in July 2021.
Right, and, to be clear, we are just looking at the historical mechanics of how the industry responded to this.
Exactly.
In July 2021, Die Baby performed at the Rolling Loud Festival in Miami. During his set, he made highly controversial and widely condemned remarks regarding HIV and AIDS, and the blowback was immediate and severe.
Yeah, bands immediately started demanding he be removed from the remix. Dua Lipa took to Instagram to publicly denounce his remarks. Radio stations around the globe began pulling the remix from their daily rotations. Major platforms like Apple Music pulled it from their curated playlists.
It was a full-scale industry pivot.
Right. Now, if you were listening to the radio in your car that week, you probably didn't even notice that the DJ quietly switched from the Da Baby version to the solo version. But from an industry perspective, I have a technical question.
Sure.
If the Da Baby remix was the main engine that got the song onto U.S. radio in the first place, and suddenly thousands of stations are yanking it, how does the song not just plummet off the charts? Like, how does it survive losing its main feature?
Well, this is where the sheer adaptability of the modern streaming era comes in. The record label and Lipa's team essentially executed a hot swap in real time.
A hot swap.
Yeah. They stopped pushing the remix and immediately pivoted all promotional efforts back to the original solo version, the one from the 2020 album we discussed earlier. The playlist updated the audio files. Radio stations just downloaded the solo track and hit play.
So they just replaced it overnight.
Basically, yes.
Right.
And here is how the Billboard chart rules actually work. Billboard essentially treats a song with multiple versions like a corporate merger. Whichever version, the remix or the solo track, is pulling in 51% or more of the overall streams, sales, and radio play gets the official chart credit.
Oh, I see.
So by starving the Da Baby remix of Oxygen and pushing the solo version, Lipa's team shifted the majority share. By August 2021, the solo version's metrics had so completely eclipsed the remix that Billboard officially removed Da Baby's credit from the Hot 100 entirely.
Wow.
The song stayed exactly where it was on the charts. It just seamlessly shed the feature.
That is an incredibly savvy maneuver. But the turbulence wasn't over. In 2022, Levitating gets hit with a second wave of trouble, this time in the form of two entirely separate federal copyright lawsuits.
Yes. Astronomical success always brings lawsuits.
Always.
The first one was filed in March 2022 by a reggae band called Article Sound System. They claimed that Levitating infringed on their 2017 song, which was called Live Your Life.
Okay, and what happened there?
Well, this suit was ultimately dropped in June 2023. The judge looked at the case and ruled that there was simply no evidence to suggest Dua Lipa, Cause, or any of the co-writers had ever had access to or had even heard Live Your Life prior to that studio session in London.
So the first one gets thrown out based on lack of access. What about the second one?
Right, so less than a week after the first suit was filed, songwriters L. Russell Brown and Sandy Linzer filed their own lawsuit. They claimed Levitating infringed on a 1979 disco song they wrote called Wiggle and Giggle All Night.
Oh, that's a title.
It is, and this one dragged on significantly longer, but in March 2025, the court dismissed this suit as well.
What was the core argument there? Like, why did the judge throw it out?
So the core of their argument was based on a specific sequence of notes called a descending musical scale. Think of a descending scale like walking down a flight of stairs. The pitch just steps down evenly from a higher note to a lower note. It's an incredibly natural way to resolve tension in a piece of music.
Right. You hear it everywhere.
Exactly. The judge ruled that a descending scale is a basic, fundamental building block of music. It is entirely non-copyrightable.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you let someone copyright the musical equivalent of walking down the stairs, no one else can ever build a two-story house. You can't own a basic sequence of notes any more than a painter can claim exclusive ownership of the color blue.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So when we zoom out and look at this entire saga, from the tarot cards in London to the remote lockdown remixes to the TikTok explosion, the chart manipulation, and the federal courtrooms,
Yeah.
what is the real takeaway here? What does the journey of Levitating actually tell us?
Well, if we synthesize everything we've talked about, it perfectly connects back to that contradiction we started with. The true legacy of Levitating isn't just its vintage synth line or its catchy Blondie-inspired rap. It is a testament to the raw, underlying resilience of a perfectly constructed pop song.
Right.
It shows us that a track can be manipulated, it can be remixed across the globe, it can be embroiled in cancel culture, it can be taken all the way to federal court, yet the architecture of the song remains completely unbothered.
Unbreakable.
Exactly. Think of it like a skyscraper built in an earthquake zone. The surface might shake, the tenants might move out, the paint might chip, but because the foundation was engineered so perfectly, the building stands.
That leaves you, the listener, with a really provocative thought to mull over today. Because the story of Levitating forces us to ask a very modern question. What is the true version of a song today?
That's a good question.
Right. Is it the original studio cut born from a sugar rush?
Ah.
Is it the star-studded club remix with Madonna? Is it the TikTok dance version that ruled the internet? In the streaming era, a song isn't just a static piece of audio pressed onto a piece of plastic anymore.
Not at all.
It is a living, breathing digital organism. It mutates, it sheds its features, it hot swaps its beats, and it adapts to survive whatever environment it finds itself in. Thanks for listening to PPO Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.